Can everyone hear me okay? Yes, perfect, perfect. Obviously feel free to, you can just listen or you can put your headphones on, you'll be able to hear through both. Welcome to the Innovation Stage. My name's Nick Moore. I'm from Glisser. We're hosting the stage today. Just before I introduce Danny, just so you're aware, you can scan the QR code on the left-hand screen there, either the QR code or just go straight to the URL. You can ask questions throughout. If you can also do that, scan it now as well, because then you can respond to, there's a kind of a poll that we're going to have as well. So I think that would be great if you can do that. We'll obviously do old school at the end if you want to ask questions just through the mic. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Danny from Field Drive. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Welcome. Today I'm going to talk a bit about our experience with check-in processes and managing your delegates on site. So the technology around it and how you can improve the delegate experience, and also as an organizer reduce the cost of your check-in process. So first of all, somebody told me that if there's a dog in a presentation, it will be more memorable. So I will probably be the only guy showing a dog in my presentation, and next year even you'll remember like, oh, that's the guy with the dog. So far for the dog, it's my dog. He passed away unfortunately 2 months ago, but he's still with us. So I'd like to ask you a question, and it's going to be a bit more interactive. I'd like you as an audience to engage with us. And who has been involved in the check-in process in organizing their events? Okay, that's good. What do you think are the elements that can influence the actual cost of your check-in process and of your delegate badging? You've got the Glisser code there. You can answer it on your device, or you can just shout, and then Nina will take notes there. So what are the elements you think that can influence the budget of your check-in, your delegate check-in? Any ideas? Yeah.
Sorry, the speed that you can get.
The speed, that's the key element, the speed. The faster you can check in people, it will give the delegates a positive experience, less queuing, and it will certainly influence your budget. So if we go a bit deeper in that idea there, is how can you influence that speed? How can you make your check-in quicker? What can save time on the check-in? Ideas?
Well, automation and automation, not staffing. So like not using the staff, but using scanners.
Yeah, so automated check-in, scanners, batch scanning, facial recognition, anything that speeds up the scanning process. So that's one. What else? Would you use a fast printer or a slow printer? Yeah, the equipment, obviously. The equipment you're using will be influencing the quality of the badges, the speed at which you're printing. So that's a number of elements. What else? Ideas? What about the staff? Having good people at the kiosks, or just like the staff? Not only the staff at the kiosk, but also the queue manager. And I think that's one of the key people when you set up your registration. If you have 15 kiosks or 12 kiosks or 6 kiosks, whatever, and half of the time they are empty because people are queuing and are looking like, oh, where's the free kiosk? That time you could have checked in 3 people or 4 people at that same kiosk. So optimize your throughput by having a hell of a good queue manager, because that is the person that's going to make the queue move, and that's going to make the people wait at the kiosk. And what we do is like preloading. If you have kiosks, you don't wait until the kiosk is free and somebody steps out of the line and walks to the kiosk. Those 5 seconds might be saving you 1 print. And if I'm telling you 1 print and you do that over and over again in a big event, you will need to double of equipment to check in the same time of people. So queue manager, have good staff and monitor that staff. We can automatically see in dashboards how many people one delegate, how many people one staff member checked in on a kiosk. And you see huge differences. We have staff doing 3 times as much check-ins as other people. Get them out there, put them somewhere else, have them make coffee, whatever. But take them away from your kiosk because that's slowing down your queue. What else? More ideas? No more ideas? Yeah.
A very facetious one, appealed to a younger audience and they move quicker.
Yeah, a younger, organize something for a younger move. That's a good one. So don't do events for old people because they move too slow to the kiosk. Like, yeah, that's a good one. So wheelchairs, we can use wheelchairs to roll them to the desks. Okay. What else? Yeah. Signage. Decent signage. Work with loop videos that people know what they have to do when they come to the kiosk. Because that's where people are like, where do I scan my barcodes? And secondly, your communication, like what are the delegates expected to do when they arrive at the kiosk? Communicate that in your queue, signage. Send them a last-minute email with their barcode. If they registered 3 weeks ago and they received their check-in barcode, they're probably not going to find it. Or they're going to start looking for it when they're standing at your kiosk. They'll be blocking your kiosk. And that is the biggest killer in your throughput. That's people looking for their barcodes at the kiosk. Don't let them step out of the queue when they don't have their barcode. Keep them in the queue. We have a sort of, we call it the cattle zone. You know, we have at the end of the queue, we have a box, and people that are looking for their barcode, we put them in the box. Go in the box. Find your barcode. You'll get out when you have it. Keep them aside. Don't put them, because there's 3 people waiting behind them that have the barcode. And they're like, hey, I have my barcode. So keep them apart from the rest of the flow and of the traffic. Good communication. Another technique we've been using and we've been monitoring and piloting over the past years is facial recognition. That part takes away the whole barcode problem. You just upload your photo, walk to the kiosk, smile, and your badge is there. And that actually works. We did an event IBC in Amsterdam about a month and a half ago. 35,000 delegates. 50% of the people uploaded their photo for facial recognition, which means they gave consent. Yes, you can use my photo to check me in. Only for that purpose. We won't use it for anything else. And very important to know with facial recognition is GDPR. Big Brother is watching you. So what we do is we create a biometrics profile. When you upload your photo, the photo will go to the biometrics server, but it's not stored together with the delegate data. It's just the biometrics profile and the customer ID in a database. The matching actually is used on the kiosk itself. So as soon as you walk up to the kiosk, the camera scans to the biometric server and it says like, oh, delegate number 23457 is there. And the kiosk knows who that is. It's just like your face becomes the barcode. At that point, delegate is recognized and the badge is printed. That saves 30% in throughput speed. People are checking in 30% faster. We've done benchmarking side by side. We've worked on the process. So facial recognition is definitely a technique that is mature and usable. And it's not expensive. There is a cost. But by speeding up the process, you actually need less equipment to get the same people through, which means less equipment in rental, but also less equipment in shipping, in logistics. And if you have ever shipped anything in the last year, you will know that prices has gone through the roof. So if you can reduce the number of equipment you use for an event, that's actually going to limit your budget. What else we did?
Timing
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Normally I have a little note here, but my eyes are getting worse by the day. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not in denial. I have glasses, but the timing. How do you plan your event to optimize the check-in time? Do you ask Richard Branson to be your keynote speaker opening session at 9 o'clock in the morning? What do you think will happen in a 10,000 people event? I can tell you that at 8:45 you will have 9,900 people in front of your door. Because they don't get up at 7 in the morning to pick up their badge. So they're going to be there 20 minutes before your session starts. If you have a high-level keynote speaker and everybody wants to be there, make sure that you organize the timing a little later. You give the people time to check in. Do pre-event check-in. When you're renting equipment, if you work with the kiosks like we do, you can move them to your hotels, to the hotel, to the airport, to the train stations the day before. People walk in, pick up their hotel key, and pick up their badge. Even if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, they can just walk up to the kiosk, facial recognition, scan their barcode, take their badge. That's 30 to 40% less people that have to pick up their badge at the event at the opening day. Do a pre-event opening. Another one which does the trick is a soft opening. You know what a soft opening is? You open the door, but very slowly. No, it's not. That's not a soft opening. A soft opening is actually announcing that you're going to be open at 9. And when you actually do that, at 8:45 you will have 1,500 people waiting in front of your door. When you actually open the door at 9, you already have a queue. You can never walk away that queue. It's going to be there and it's going to stay there. So announce that you're going to open at 9, but you actually open at 8. So the people that come early, instead of having them queue, you just pass them through. That's already 10, 15, 20% of your delegates gone. Instead of starting with the queue, you start with a steady flow. Because once you have an interruption or a blocking in your queuing, it's like on the highway. One guy does a hard brake on the highway, there's an accident, the accident is gone, and 3 hours later there's still a queue at the same place. It happened 2 hours or 3 hours before. It's the same with delegates. Once you have a blocking or the printing goes down, which has happened with some of our colleagues, like the system is down, sorry, you have to wait. Even if it's only 5 minutes, you can never walk away that queue. So make sure that you get a soft opening, that you plan your timings accordingly, and that you keep the flow moving. And coming back to that queue manager, we've compared people and performance. I can't emphasize enough how important that person is. And he's not going to hold out the whole day, because that's a very, very intensive job. Dispatching people to kiosk number 1, number 6, number 5. Not like, oh, sir, you can go to kiosk number 1. No. Number 1, number 3, number 5, number 6. Look them in the eyes and say, 6, 5, 3, 4, 2, 9. And that's moving your queue. Not like, sir, would you please go to kiosk number 3? Make a move. Keep the flow going. Take away any social talk from the kiosk. Ask my badge, where do I pick up my lanyard? Where are the toilets? Just keep it moving. Have an info point behind your check-in. The time you're spending at the kiosk needs to be the absolute minimum. Take away social, take away everything that can slow down your process. Handing out the lanyards, don't give them away at the kiosk. Organize a station after your check-in so that people pick up their badge, they free the kiosk, pick up their lanyard, because they're going to be fiddling with the little hooks to get them on. Parking tickets, gift bags, take it away from your check-in. Just second stage. Also, all the delegates that are not checked in, didn't register, forgot their barcodes. I can't remember. Oh, it's maybe my colleague that registered me. I don't know. Get them out of there. Get customer service desk. Go sort out your. If there's a queue there, it's not my problem. It's their problem. They should have registered before. They should have. But take them away from the kiosk. Don't start a discussion with that specific delegate at the kiosk. Get them out of there. Move them. Anything else we forgot? We've got everything covered. Wow. That's good. So, coming back, speed queuing, the scanning process, faster equipment, faster, but that's not making a difference. If your printer does like 3.7 seconds or 3.9 seconds, and maybe I'll give you one tip there. Most of we print in full color. Depending on the design of the batch, you can save 1 to 2 seconds in the batch printing. Like a full bleed design like this one, full blue, is taking at least 2 seconds more to print than one like this. Because you have full bleed, you have a lot of color, the printer just takes longer to print them. So if you have an event, if it's with like 1,000 delegates or 2,000 delegates, the difference is not that much. If you have 20,000 delegates, go for something like this. Use more white space, because it's going to prevent you from having slower printers, having to fill up the ink regularly. And also you can influence the printing speed. It's just one little component, but those like 4 or 5 seconds the printer needs to spit out that batch can be influenced by the quality of the print. Don't upload an image in your batch design which is like 20 megabytes for the image, because the printer needs to process it and needs to generate a PDF and print it out. So make sure that your images are just enough quality to have them printed, and set your printer settings not to the highest level of standard unless you have a VIP event. You might print your VIP badges just in a bit higher color with the exact color code, but the delegates ones, just get them through and just get them flowing. So signage, communication, when you send out the barcode is important. Just do it just before the event, because if you send it out 3 days before, it will be lost in their emails. Just send a little reminder mail. And with the facial recognition, we are to a point now where you can actually, and this surprised us a lot, because if we look at IBC, of those 15 or 16,000 delegates that actually checked in with facial recognition, 30% of those uploaded their photo while they were waiting in the queue. So they got their barcode, or they didn't find their barcode, and there was signage saying like, you wanna have the queue move faster? Upload your photo. Click. The people were actually standing in the queue, taking their photo, walking up to the kiosk and picking up their badge. So that speeds up the whole process. Coming back to shipping and shipping costs. Typically you see a number of ways to manage printing. You can have, we still have clients that pre-print badges. Who pre-prints badges here? Okay. I'll start again with this session, just from the beginning, wind back, because you're gonna have to change that. And it's a mindset. You've been doing this for how long?
Oh, nearly 10 years.
Nearly 10 years. Okay, so it's a mindset. The first time you're going to switch to and trust those printers that the badges are actually going to come out of that machine, and you don't touch them physically before your event starts. That's a level of trust you have to hand over to your tech supplier. Like, and what if it goes wrong? And what if the printer's blocked? And what if there's no Wi-Fi? And what if this? So this fear of not being able to deliver badges, I can tell you, we've in the last, it's been a while. We have seen a client that still does pre-printing. It's nice, but we started doing live printing somewhere in, I think it was 99, 2000 when we started doing live batch printing, and then in those days we had the boxes with all the pre-printed batches as a backup. If the system would go down, we'd go like, help! We need to set out the badges. So that's not done anymore. If you still do pre-printing, there's so much downside on it. You don't know who came. You just simply can't send out just a simple thank you mail. Thank you, you came. I have no clue. There were like 50 badges left on the table. Those people didn't show up. They probably got thrown away with the rest of the junk, and you have no idea who was at your event. You don't have any tracking. You don't have any feedback. So get your delegates checked in, check them to the registration platform. So we can integrate with any registration platform, and we see there's a huge difference using a event reg provider, an online provider, and an on-site provider, because the people, when it goes wrong at the event, you're in the trenches with the client. If shit happens, then the client is breathing in your neck, and that's a different feeling than when you're sitting in a support center in India, like, yes sir, can I help you with your problem? And the client is sitting on the other side of the world. If he shouts at you, at 5 o'clock you're checking out and you're gone anyway. But if you're sitting at the event with the client and shit happens, I swear you're gonna sweat, you're gonna get gray hair like mine, and you're gonna wanna solve the problem. So you better be sure that the shit is working and that you don't get any getting problem. So coming back to that shipping cost. When you do on-site printing, you can do pre-printing, which saves a lot of space. You don't have to ship printers, you don't have to ship kiosks. Typically we see laptops and a printer next to it. We've been introducing kiosks, I think 7-8 years ago, and now you see them more and more. Kiosks take a bit more space, but save in the technical requirements of the people that are setting it up. If you have to deploy a network and a printer and connect and configure a printer and cabling and everything, the people that are on site need to know what they're doing. If you have a kiosk, you plug in the power, you switch on the printer, you're good to go, because all the rest can happen remotely. We can take over a kiosk, we can do the API, we can do the integrations. Everything that is technically difficult can be done remotely. So the guy that's on site, he needs to worry about, is there ink in the printer? Are the badges fed? Do I remember my password so I can log into the event? The data of the delegates is not only in the cloud in your reg provider, but is also on every one of the kiosks. So if the internet goes down, you can still print badges, which is a huge peace of mind. We've seen events where, and you know, you got the day before, you set up, you test the Wi-Fi, everything good, everything fine, until your 10,000 delegates come in and they all start downloading their YouTubes and chatting and loading channels, and the internet goes, and your batch printing stops. So make sure that if you're working with a provider, that the data is on the kiosk and that you are ensured, even if there's an interruption of internet service, that you can continue printing badges. That's so important. I've been there once, like 8-9 years ago, and I can tell you it's a nightmare when you have 3,000 people standing in front of your door and the printers say like, I'm not printing. 5 minutes? Okay. So make sure you have a good internet connection, but also make sure that you have a backup on each one of the kiosks. So coming back to how you can ship equipment and with the logistics cost, it's important that you, because often you see, if you compare suppliers, they will say, rental equipment this much, badges this much, blah blah blah, and then the shipping is at cost because you don't know. Yep, I'm going to ship one pallet, I'm going to ship the equipment. So mostly the item, the line item in a proposal is at cost. But what if that supplier needs 3 times more volume for shipping than another supplier? The shipment cost can actually be as expensive as the rental of the equipment. So make sure that you have an optimized shipping process and that you know roughly about ahead of time what you're gonna be paying for. If you look at the big kiosks, they're shipping 2 per pallet or 1 per pallet. We can ship 6 or 8 per pallet. That's like 4 times less logistics cost. So an important part in your cost. Did I miss something? Any questions? Because I haven't given you the... I've been talking so much. I got 2 minutes left for questions. No questions? Everything's clear now?
Danny, there's a couple of questions that come through.
The questions.
Here. So, what's your main tip for mitigating any risk on site?
Well, I told it, have a box in the back with all the pre-printed batches, so you're sure that you can always... No, make sure that on your kiosk, on your printing devices, you have redundancy. Eventually, we can also put battery packs in each kiosk. So even if the catering company comes in and they plug in all their chafing dishes and their coffee machines and the lights go out, you can still print badges because there's a battery pack in the kiosk. So there's a number of things you can do. Make sure the backup is on the kiosk. Make sure that you have power backup, that you have a dedicated Wi-Fi. Don't go for the audience Wi-Fi or the delegate Wi-Fi on your event. Ask them to have a special segment for your Wi-Fi so that you can connect your kiosks to it. Do you think that facial recognition will become the norm? Yeah, I'm definitely sure. We've been advocating it and testing it since 5 years, and I can tell you now with confidence that when you go to the airport, facial recognition is just part of the process, right? It's when we look back, when we started 5 years ago, oh, Google's going to steal my ID. They already have it. They don't have to steal it. Don't worry, they have it. So facial recognition is definitely going to become more common. And we also see that the first time you do an event, you will get 30 to 40% opt-in. If your communication campaign is going good, you might get 50% or 60%. The second event you're going to do, you're going to have an opt-in rate of 70, 75%. And the third one, you're probably going to reach 80, 85%. You're never going to get, because there's always the 15% non-believers and that are still walking around with goat socks. And so you're always going to have a part of the audience that's not going to trust technology and not going to upload their photo. But if you have 80%, and it doesn't need to obstruct other ways of checking in. You can still use your barcode. You can still look up your name. You can use your face. Whatever. The technologies can be mixed.
Brilliant. I think that's the final question. I think we're almost at time. Unless any other questions from the audience.
Any other questions?
And Danny, I presume you're either around this afternoon or they can obviously contact you.
So come and see us at the Field Drive booth if you want to know more. You can give me an applause now. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Danny.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.